Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Hey, Tyler, we are just getting this call started. So let's jump into this, guys. Welcome to our agency call. Today is June 7th, and we had a hell of a month. And in fact, when we went back and caught some missing production, we hit 1 million in the month of May, which is incredible. We grew about 25% month over month, which is incredible. Thank you guys so much for your hard work. It is super appreciated. Let's do a little bit of recognition. Friggin' special shout out to Steve, the Italian Stallion. Holy smokes, dude. 151,459. Incredible job, number one producer, not only in Apex, but set the new 4-week company record in the history of Family First Life. As if you need any more recognition, Steve, you got it, baby. That's awesome. Chris Wasserman coming in number 2 spot, 47,535. Ben Roberts, best month he's ever had, 42,517. Great job, Ben. Orlando, no pain, no gain, 39,128. Julie Mung coming in strong, 31,163. Jesse Parley, 28,916. Alex Labrija with a huge last week of the month, issuing 17,000. Great job, buddy. 28,403. The Raging Cajun himself, 25,164. He's calling a $40,000 month this month. Chris Wasserman is calling a $65,000 this month, and Steve said he's going to back it up, do over 100 again. Steph Cover, 22,817, and the Kangaroo, 19,763, rounding out the top 10. Agency recognition here, issue paid. Steve Giordano with Health and Wealth, 478,657. I'm pretty sure that's the best month you've ever had. Great job. Jesse Parley, 158,876. Alex Labrija with Third Coast, 105,015. Ben Roberts with FFL Dynamic, 89,215. And Chris Wasserman with Blue Line, 83,857. He's calling VP next month, guys. This is exciting. Now, weekly submit on a holiday week, Memorial Day weekend. Great job, guys. 269,203. Steve G, number one submitter per usual, 37,549. Steph Cover, good week, girl, 15,535. Chris Wasserman, 10,596. Orlando, no pain, no gain, 9,826. Kyle W, love to see your name up here in the top 10, 8,941. Jesse Parley, 8868. The Raging Cajun, 8701. Tyler Knox with a couple big sales last week, 7,872. Eddie Anderson, 7,477. Cedric the Kangaroo, 6,852. Tier Brown, 6,803. Hillary with her best week ever, 6,470. Great job. Mario Guajardo, 6,120. Jim K, 5,906. David Henson, 5,708. Michael R, 5625. Lee Harrison with a 5520. Mario Garza, 5050. Deborah B with a giant sale, 5,014. And Caleb Sewell rounding out that top 20, 4588. 66 submitting agents, 197 apps. Great job, guys. 6 new writers last week. Big week for FFL Third Coast with Alex Labrija. Jesse M, Kenneth J, Javier S, Gerardo G, John T, and Mary M. So great job, guys. I'm going to turn over this to Steve to introduce Tyler Adams, who is an absolute stud. So I'm going to mute out here, and Steve.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you for being here today, Tyler. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, man. So first, we got to give you a round of applause for 60K your first month, which was a year ago, I believe, right?
No, it was 9 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Good for you. So, number one, president of FFL Trident Life, and I'm going to ask a really stupid question. Can you explain to me what Trident Life means and why you chose that as your name?
Yeah, man. So just had some significance. Before doing this, I was in law enforcement, and I was on an IRT team, SWAT team, whatever you want to call it. And that was kind of our insignia for, that kind of was that brother and sisterhood of people and the camaraderie. So for me, it was just a strong symbol, and it's kind of, I like to have that serve, secure, and just that commitment for our clients. So that's kind of what stuck with me and resonated with it. And it's a pretty cool looking logo, so that helps.
It is very cool. And I felt really stupid trying to figure out what it meant. So not only are you 9 months in and selling at a high level, but your building that we're going to talk about. But first, I just want you to touch upon a little bit where you came from and what brought you to FFL.
Yeah, man. So like I said earlier, I was in law enforcement for quite a while. Decided to transition from that, wanted a little bit more of a work-life balance, and I decided to go into the world of corporate America. I was in telecom for about 12, 13 years. In my last 6, 7 years, I was in T-Mobile. I was in senior leadership there, and did that for quite a while. And I knew Marco Conde, who was a vice president from a competitor of T-Mobile. He actually tried to recruit me like a few times to come to his, and I would go over there and I would come back, and I never really went to where he was. And I saw Marco leave as a vice president. You know, he was on the wrong side of the politics, and like every business has in, you know, corporate America. I saw him leave and start doing this whole life insurance thing. And I'm like, what? Marco's doing life insurance? What is he like? What is this guy doing? Like, he was a vice president. Why is he doing life insurance? Right. What is, you know, so for me, I saw his success. And for like the first 6 months to a year, I'm like, man, there's no way this guy's making there's no way he's making $50,000. So I'd like shoot Marco a text, and he would kind of talk to me a little bit, and then I would just ghost him for like 3 months. I did this like 4 times. I'm surprised he even took my phone calls towards the end. And then finally one day I got this new boss, and it was just, you know, I felt like I was in a rotating door in corporate America, from boss after boss after boss who had been out of the field for, you know, 20 years. They had no idea what they were talking about, but they would dictate, you know, my position, my earnings, and just my overall happiness of what that I did for, you know, 50, 60 hours a week. So I ended up going and doing a ride along. I saw him make like $4,000 in an afternoon. And then just to make sure he knew I knew it was real, he sent me a picture of his Americo statement the next day. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this whole life insurance thing. So I decided to go all in, and, you know, just because of personal tragedy that happened to me and my family, I kind of understood the, you know, importance of life insurance, and, you know, what that it can do for a family in a time of need, because my brother, he passed away at the age of 32. And I saw what that did for our family. So I really saw the value in it, and I thought it was another way from serving. And I really missed my background of law enforcement, being able to help and serve people. And I felt like for me, this was kind of like a calling, and it just all fell into place.
Wow, it's an amazing story. And what's so interesting, if you look around the landscape of FFL, you hear so many stories like this of where people were just kind of drawn to it and the stars aligned correctly, you know? And it's interesting. You also mentioned, like with corporate America, where they're giving you like a title, but then you're not making the money behind the title. And here we could care less about titles because we're able to make the money that means more. You know what I mean? So now this first month out 9 months ago, you write 60 grand.
Yep.
So what did that look like? Obviously you listened to what Marco said, and Marco's amazing. What did that look like for you lead flow wise? How uncomfortable were you? And kind of give us that picture of the first month.
Yeah, brother. The one thing I'll tell you, I think that I truly believe anybody can attain that level to success coming out the gate, if they have the right mentality. So, I mean, there's nothing really special about me. I'm just an average guy, right? But the one thing I'll say that I did, and I think I did very well, I eliminated all distractions out of my life. You know, when I decided I was going to do this, okay, there was no more Netflix. There was no more Spotify. There was no more Apple Music. I was watching Family First Life YouTube, podcast, trainings, the playbook. I mean, that's all that my life was consumed of. There was nothing else outside of that. You know, I would say before that I ever picked up the phone to dial, I probably listened to at least 25 to 30 hours of live dials. Not only was I listening for the things that I liked, but I was listening for the things that I didn't like. So if I heard a producer that said something and it was consistently tripping him up, and I made a mental note, hey, don't ever say that, right? And I've said this before, you know, I didn't watch any podcast unless it was someone that was a top producer, because when you start with Family First Life, it's just like a loop of knowledge. Like you can start at the top and it's just going to play video after video after video. And for me, if they were producing 15 grand a month, I just went right past them. Like my goal was my first month to do 40 grand. Okay. So if they weren't doing at least $40,000, I just went past them and went to the next video. So for me, I kind of looked at it as a mentality thing, to where I was going to have so much knowledge from the trainings, and I was going to have heard because on the phone, there's really only you're a master of the phones. There's probably 5 to 6 objections. That's really all that you're going to get, right? So if you listen to it, if not live dials, you're going to hear people overcoming those consistently. And then you can prepare yourself for that. So a lot of people say, hey, were you nervous starting? I don't even think I was nervous. I really wasn't scared. I was just anxious. Like I wanted to get the ball rolling, because patience has always been something I've had to work on. So, for me, I think that it was all about the preparation and the training. And then, like you said, lead flow. Starting out, I had a comp cut due to COVID. And, realistically, we only had about, I don't know, $1,700-1,800 in our bank account at the time. And my first lead order out of the $1,700-1,800 we had was a $1,500 lead order. Rent was due in like 2 weeks. My wife was super supportive because she knew how miserable I was in corporate America. But even her, when she saw me take $1,500 out of our like last $1,800, she's like, are you crazy? I'm like, listen, just give me a week and I'll make it back. I was that confident. And my wife, she doesn't work. She's supportive. She works now in the business with me, but at the time she wasn't working, and I have 2 kids. So it wasn't like I had a huge safety net, but I was that confident in the system that we have. And I knew that if I just had enough leads, all it took was 1, right? So I tried to set myself up to have so many leads on dial day. Even if I stumbled, even if I messed up, I still could book enough appointments to make a profit and to reinvest and order more leads.
Well, that is amazing. And I do find that you hear these stories of people when they had their back against the wall and they used their rent money or whatever it was, they're the ones that have the crazy success because they know they have to make it happen, and they do. So in that month, so you spent the 1,500, was that's your first lead order? What do you think you spent in that month in general?
That month, I would say I probably spent about $6,000.
Okay.
I would say 6 to 6,500, and I, brought in about 60. And then the next month, I just turned up the heat. I'm like, listen, if I spent 6 and I made 60, what if I move my spend to, 8,000-9,000 a month? Then the next month I did 78,000. So for me, it was just about, and that was all Facebook and CRM ads. That's all that was. There were no mailers. There were none of that. I mean, I just started, so I've invested very heavily in, game time, happy agents, and then the CRM leads. Because when I first started, instants weren't really a thing. So I was doing a lot of the new internet life leads, because instants weren't much of a thing at that point. They started about 3 months later.
So needless to say, you have not had a cash flow problem since you had that money for your rent that you spent on leads. Would that be accurate?
I can say the FFL has definitely been a blessing for me and my family. So 100%.
And now you're up in Orlando, right?
Yeah, I'm in Orlando.
Got it. Okay, cool.
And when I first started, man, they told me, they're like, oh, you're running business in Orlando? I'm like, yeah, like, man, I said, that's a tough market out there. And at the time I didn't know any better because I just started, right? But the way I look at it, it doesn't matter how tough the market is. If you give yourself enough at bats, you're going to have a couple home runs. So that was kind of my mentality. I remember frantically, like my first 3-4 months, I was frantically ordering leads. Like I would get a deposit and I would put the full deposit back in leads because I was so worried about the next day, right? So, and I kept doing that too. And I tell people that's kind of the new syndrome, right? After you get comfortable and confident, you know that it's coming. But I think kind of that frantic sense of urgency of always wanting more leads and always having to have 30 to 40 appointments is really what got me to that early success.
Yeah. I mean, anytime anybody tells you, oh, that's going to be difficult for anybody on the call, just do it. Yep. People told me the same thing about Dade County. They're like, oh, you can't run Dade County. Like, okay, sure. Well, nobody else is going to. I'm going to. Same thing with you in Orlando. So now tell me some of the things that you feel set you apart on the phone and then on the in-home? Some of the little intangible things that you do.
Yeah, I think that on the phone, again, I wish that I had like this magic secret, but there's really not one. I listen to tons of live dials. I mean, tons of live dials. I would find different, and if you go to the different FFL pages, if you're only a member of one FFL page, I encourage you to join multiple FFL pages outside of your comfort zone, because there's so many different, styles out there that you can learn and take a little bit from everyone. So for me, I listened to so many live dials, and I felt like, I started at 7:30. Everyone's like, start at 8. The whole thing was start at 8, start at 8:30 when I first started. And I was calling a lot of these final expense mailers, and I felt like they were kind of tuning me out. So one morning I got up at 7:30 and started dialing. And that morning from 7:30 to 11, I booked my next 2 full run days. And I was done before 11 o'clock. I had 7 appointments one day, 8 appointments the next. So for me, that was a huge thing. I think that not so much as mortgage, but final expense starting at 7:30 is huge. Just based off of my experience, right? Mortgage, I've had a little bit easier books later, but the final expense, the thing you got to realize, guys, if you've been running, you'll be in a home with a final expense and you're in there for an hour. Those people are getting 15 to 30 calls while that you're in there for an hour. So you got to try to give yourself that edge up. And if you're starting at 7:30, I guarantee you nobody else is calling. You're not a telemarketer. They filled it out. They wanted the information. So you're just calling to get it to them. So for me, I think starting at 7:30 in the morning, and what I try to do is I always tried to have a level tone when I was on the phone, right? Not super monotone, but not excited either. Because I've heard people where they'll start super high and then they'll go low and they're just all over the place, and it kind of confuses the client on the phone. So I try to keep the script pretty simple, right? And I just keep a nice even tone, and I try to find a way to relate to them. And I like to say their name at least 5 to 6 times before I get off the phone.
Love that. And it's interesting because I think the things that top producers like yourself do are literally little things. Like you said, it's not like pixie dust. You dial a little earlier, you say their name 5 or 6 times, and that's something that sets you apart from, the next person that calls them. So now, you had never went to people's houses before. Now you're going out to people's houses.
Yeah.
What did that look like kind of in those first 100 appointments? And what would be some things that you'd, give to our new agents in their first 100?
Yeah. And for me, I think that my goal was to get through those 100 appointments as quickly as possible, because the way I look at this business is, even if you mess up your first month, right, and you suck really bad for your first month, and then you write $250,000 that year, you lost $2,000 to $3,000 to make 250 for a lifetime of income. Any of my friends that are up to their eyeballs in debt are spending 50, 60, $100,000 in student loans they have to pay back, and I'm making quadruple what they're making. So I kind of had an understanding of, even if I broke even and just got enough to scrape by, but I got good at this, it was worth it. So that was kind of the mentality going into it. And guys, I keep it simple. Like, this was on my iPad. Like, I have it right here. I typed this up as a new agent. I was watching a training. It says, don't open laptop for the first 5 minutes. Find common ground, observe things in the house. Tell them who I am. My name, I'm a local field underwriter. I see 20 to 30 families a week. What I specialize in: state regulated programs, burial coverage, final expense, mortgage protection, and retirement planning. What the process is today: making them understand current coverage, show them what they qualify for, and getting it done at a budget that they can afford. And then ask them if they have any questions. I literally just followed this. But I wanted structure, and I wanted every time that I went in home to develop a habit. And that was the goal for myself, was to get a habit and to improve on that, right? And I don't need this now, of course. I can do an in-home in my sleep. But as a new agent, you walk in and there's so many things that can throw you, right? There's so many different scenarios, because no client is exactly the same. So I tried to have an automated system, and everything that I have for my business is in my Apple Notes. All of my phone scripts, they're all in my Apple Notes. My in-home is in my Apple Notes. All of my writing numbers, my passwords, Everything is in my Apple Notes. So I tried to make it that no matter how bad I did in home, I would never lose my way because I had a system to make sure that I could stay on track.
I love that. And it lends itself to the control that you're taking in the house. So now you're in this business, you come out the gate, you're killing it. At what point did the light bulb go off to say, hey, I need to start hiring and build a business?
The day that I got my first deposit, I would have to say that because I saw how miserable I was in corporate America. And, I had several, employees. I had a couple hundred employees working for me before I left. And these guys were busting their tails working 50 hours a week just to barely clear $400 or $500 a week. They come over here, they can write one policy, and that's more than they made in an entire month. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. I wanted to try to break as many people free from the bondage of corporate America as possible. So I started right off the bat. And the thing I'll say is it's funny because a lot of the people that you think are going to absolutely crush it are the ones that fizzle out. And then the people that you're kind of unsure about, they're the ones that really has the breakthrough. So my message is hire as many people as possible, give them all the same support, and the people that want to succeed are going to succeed. And that's kind of what that I've seen, so far. I got Jessica Stewart, her first month in, she was working at TJ Maxx, making $10 an hour. In her first month, she wrote $30,000. No insurance experience, right? But she truly had the drive. She bought a lot of leads, and she just trusted the system. And she was a student of the game.
It's so funny you mentioned her because I was going to ask you about her. How did you find her? Did she fill out an ad or was it social media?
Actually, she was a personal trainer at a gym with my wife up in North Carolina before we moved down to Florida. So she was a personal trainer before, and then she left that, just started working at TJ Maxx and was kind of unhappy where she was at. And I mean, man, again, she came down to Miami. She wasn't licensed. She came down to Miami. She went to convention. And I never will forget when I knew she was going to be successful, I walked up behind her and she had a notebook like this thick. And this was, I think, the second day towards the end. There's already like 10 pages full of notes. And she had a 90-day plan of what she was going to do. So I knew at that point, like, okay, she's going to be successful. And she truly came out and did some really awesome things. And it's just because she's following the system. She's, buying the leads and she's keeping it very, very simple.
And how much more gratifying is it when you have agents that have success? It's like when we write, it's like, who cares? Like, but when you have people that you can help, like how does that impact you?
Well, to me, that's a better feeling than when I do it. Like I don't even post my IP on 90% of our chats and our reports. I don't even post mine because to me, that's irrelevant. I'm a leader. I'm expected to do well. For me, it's gratifying to see them win and to see them succeed. So for me, that's a more gratifying. I would rather every one of my team, issue pay, 30, 40,000 than me have an 80K month. To me, that's just more gratifying. And I feel like that's making more of an impact because we're helping multiple people all around us, the clients we serve and our agents and their families. And it's not just directly impacting me. So that's kind of the way that I've looked at it. And that's really made me feel good, man, about trying to grow this thing. And I definitely don't have it cracked. I'm trying to get better every day. I'm trying to learn from people like you and all the top producers that are running at a high level while growing a massive business. I still got a long way to go, but I'm trying to take a little bit away every day to get better.
Awesome. So now you got into this new office a couple of weeks ago, right? In Orlando.
Yes.
Which is great. So what are some of the other things structurally that you have for your business, whether it be staff or different things that you're doing to grow it?
Yeah, man, I think that I really started getting into staff probably about 3-4 months ago. I felt like I've been running long enough that I could really sustain staff, and I wish I would have gotten staff earlier. But I got a recruiter, I got an admin, and my wife also works with us, and she does all of the back end stuff, trying to help with contracting. She's kind of a jack of all trades. And I'm actually getting ready to bring on another recruiter next week, really trying to ramp it up. So I think that it takes a lot of pressure off of you having to do everything, because if you're trying to run at a high level and grow a business, it's essential to have staff. I don't know how you could do it without staff. if you're in the field 4 to 5 days a week and you're growing a business. I just don't know how there's enough time in the day. So for me, I think the staff is essential. And I think that for me, the number one thing you need is a recruiter, because you need the people. You need your agency to grow to help fuel your business. It's like pouring gasoline on fire to make sure that you continue that growth.
What are some of the online platforms that you use? I'm sure a lot of social media. And what do you think you spend on ad spend a month? Because I think that's something that, maybe we talk about and don't talk about sometimes, when we're growing it. What does your structure look like there?
Yeah, so for recruiting, we're using Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, and we do a ton of social media outreach. I think that you can get just as much off of that if you utilize it correctly, and the cost is minimal. Even if you're using Facebook ads and you're combining that with reaching out to people directly. But as far as, ad spend, probably $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
Okay. Yeah. It's a reasonable number. And you're running 4 days still? Or are you 3 days in the field?
I'm running 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So running 4 days a week, and now I've transitioned, and I'll tell people, kind of going back a little bit. I think also, Steve, something that really helped me early when I first started, I think that a lot of people only ran final expense for like their first year to year and a half. As an agent, I started doing mortgage protection 2 weeks in. And I think that the mortgage protection, along with the final expense and being more well-rounded and really studying every, facet of the business, did help come out and write a lot of those numbers very early on.
Yeah, I love that. Anything that you can leave for new agents kind of starting out, some of the things that maybe you give to your team when they start that could help some of our new people as we wrap things up here?
Yeah, man, I think that the biggest thing is in this business is the phones. In-home really takes care of itself, guys. You have an e-app. It will not let you go to the next page if you're doing something wrong. Like, it's almost impossible to screw up an e-app. So as a new agent, I remember being super intimidated. I'm like, well, how do I know every price? How do I know all these extra things? And it just kind of bogs your mind down and takes away from the things that you need to really focus on. I think that you need to record your dials, and you need to be just dialing multiple times. I dialed every day, not just 2 days a week. I was dialing every day from 7:30 to 10 o'clock, no matter what. It didn't matter, because I was always, if my day was stacked, I was stacking for the next day. So I wanted to get to a point to where I was super confident on the phones. And no matter how many live dials you can listen to, that's going to give you the right message. But to really get your tonality down and to be able to overcome those objections, I think it's key that you need to be on the phone at least 4 to 5 days a week. Because like I said, in my in-home, I had it written down so I could memorize it. And now I can do it, asleep. Same thing with the phones. Block yourself out till 9:45, 10 o'clock, and every day bang on the phones from 7:30 to 9 to 9:30. Like, make yourself uncomfortable to a point to where it's not uncomfortable anymore. It just feels like another day in the office. And when you start to do that, it does multiple things. It gives your confidence a huge boost. It gets you a lot more at bats, which is going to make you a lot more issue premium. And it just makes you more comfortable as a producer overall. I really think that it's just about getting in front of as many people as possible. And I saw, I don't remember who it was, but they kind of had a graph one time. And it was like, a 33, 33, 33, like 3 circles. You had, the top circle. Hold on, I'll do it right here. And then you had a bottom circle and then a middle. So 33, 33, 33. And this really was stuck home for me. So sorry about the ugly handwriting. So your top circle is your people that no matter what happens, they're going to buy, right? There's 33% of the clients that you sit with. It doesn't matter what you do, they're going to buy a policy unless you insult them in home. Then you got the 33%.
Still in the vehicle.
Then you got the 33% that's never going to buy no matter what you do, right? And where your talent comes into play is that middle 33, 34%. That's where, as you get better, you're going to be able to close that 33, 34% in the middle. And that's really going to make that huge difference. So I knew I had a 30% chance of closing everyone. So if I booked enough, 30% of a lot is a lot better than 30% of a little. And as I progressed, I closed that middle ring and got to a point where I was so confident that if I was sitting with him and if they qualified, I was going to close the deal and protect the family.
I love that. It's simple breakdown of numbers. My friend, this has been great. You know, your structure is amazing. I really look forward to all the things you guys are doing and the growth that you're going to see. Anything we can do for you, please reach out. And just thank you again, my friend.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Hey, Steve, great interview. You want to do a little Q&A or you want to get
Sure.
everybody back on?
Yeah, we'll do a little bit.
All right, cool. Who's got a good question?
Fire away.
Oh, Tyler, you're good, dude. You're free to go.
Oh, sorry.
I appreciate you so much. You're awesome. This is just for them to ask Steve a bunch of questions.
Take care, brother. Thanks.
Well, any housekeeping stuff you'd like to go over, Steve?
I think.
I mean, let's just keep killing it. We've got great momentum. We're growing like a weed. Steve, you said you had like 25 new agents on your live dials. That's incredible. Good luck to all of you guys in the field. Again, let's ride this wave of momentum. Keep pushing, keep working our butts off. And, if there's nothing, we can end it and, get back on the phones and get that activity up. Be obsessed with activity, people, and good things will come.
Good deal. Thanks, brother.
Steve.
Sounds good.
All right, cool. We'll see you all next week.